3 in the morning, I'm awake without a warning. I'm wrestling with the passing of time. Try to forget it, try to get it together. She's running circles in the back of my mind. I'm hoping this is only temporary. It's scary thinking I could be going insane. Try to forget it, try to get it together. She's running circles in the back of my brain. That girl is like sunburn on my backside, sinking in the quicksand with my hands tied, shouting at the top of my lungs. But that girl, she got my tongue, so I sing it instead. I sing it, ooh, ooh. Maybe this is all inside my head. I sing it, ooh, ooh. Love will make you mad, then drop you dead.
Hey everybody, Kevin Hoyt with the Grassroots Warrior Network, and we have Jess with us tonight. Jess, how are you today? How are you doing?
Hi, everybody. Hi, Kevin. Thanks for having me tonight.
Are you nervous? A little nervous?
I'm always
Yes.
nervous when I come on here. I don't want, I don't want to talk too fast and stuff, and I have a lot of things going on, but I'm glad I'm here with you because you're going through a lot. You have a lot of people on there that are very strong and have inspired me. So I was honored that you let me be on here tonight.
Oh, this is a platform for everybody. I say that to anybody who has a story, a product, a service, something, a message that's going to help everybody. That's why we created this network. So we call you Grassroots Warriors. And you want to talk about local corruption, and we got to get into your background, and I want to do a whole bunch of other stuff.
Not so much, local. Mainly about, just about the state, things going on in the state, the type of things, old things that don't die off, that are not really a good depiction of who the Vermonters are.
Yeah, targeting, gang stalking. You
Yeah, like
said to
that
me,
bullying in every
bullying,
possible way.
you're scared for your life. Is that a
Very,
fair statement? Yeah.
very, very fair.
Yeah. Okay. And again, we've talked again behind the scenes a little bit about the armor of God, and now this is why you're sent. But you were hesitant about coming on for that reason, right?
Because in a lot of this, I've been very misunderstood. Probably a lot of the people listening have heard my name associated with something that was created by the married mistress of an ex of mine
Right.
who was concerned that I was going to tell her husband. So she maybe panicked, maybe didn't mean to cause the problem that it caused, but um, made my ex had go into a public safety into the police department, who I absolutely love. I'm a huge fan of public safety. And he went in there specifically because he knew I loved those people and believed in them. And over time was, doing sort of a smear campaign. You've heard of these attacks, these narcissistic, sometimes
You
they'll have
got a
an
big
attack.
heart, Jess. Again,
Yeah, I'm an empath, and I
I,
never suspected. I thought he was older, so he was sick. I didn't know that that's what was occurring.
and again, I think these blockers that are sent in our lives, again, you still have a lot of forgiveness and understanding, and you're trying. I can hear that. I think they're probably a little more, devious than
They're very they like to they have wanted to, planned, and enjoyed watching me suffer. Both of them are
Yeesh.
not from here. They're not local Vermonters. One of
But
them married a girl. He was from Massachusetts,
but they're
who
using
everybody
local
loves.
resources. All right. Well,
Y-
first, let's back up. We got to back
Okay,
up a little bit because
sure.
you don't sound like a Vermonter.
No,
That's they
unfortunately.
well,
I have
listen,
that. That's the other problem I have is this accent that enters the room before me,
followed
and
you from
many
Long
times
Island.
it's misunderstood or misinterpreted. And I think also when you come to a new community or even a new area, there are some things in one area that might be funny, where in another area, if you say that same thing, like in another country, it might be offensive. So I think a lot of me has been very misunderstood. I was an advocate and a blogger mostly when in the beginning here, and I started to just feel like I was going to speak out for the locals, like you do, very bravely you do. And I started talking about, local issues and the way that the kids were being treated through at Child Protective Services all over the globe, really. Children, foster children are treated that way, and human trafficking and all that stuff happens everywhere. But and I really felt badly. I felt like I was fighting for the Vermont children, but maybe because I didn't know how small it was, this Vermont, maybe I was affecting people who had jobs in that area when I was talking about a specific school, or I was maybe making people feel threatened by, that maybe this would affect their jobs, and maybe they felt badly about it. I was more thinking I was in a big city like New York, and I was trying to be like a tough voice for Vermonters because I thought that they were more reserved. What I didn't understand at the time was maybe they were afraid to say things, that maybe they were afraid, they weren't able to say things, or that maybe somebody would retaliate against them. I didn't know how to do it, how to interpret it, but there was an older man who had heard my blog in the very beginning in the town of Dover, who asked me if I could please speak about local news, because at that time nobody was, and I think the Vermonters needed something. You speak for a lot of people and stuff, and I always wanted to offer myself to the Vermonters. But there was a group of New York girls that lived here for many, many years. So they've gained the trust of people. They're influential, and maybe they're nice to
Our
everybody else.
politicians are all from, again, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut. There's very few Vermonters that sit in those Vermont seats.
You know how I know that? Because the economic development is still failing. And the only reason why, it's not because New Yorkers are not smart, but they believe they know what will work here because it works everywhere else. But this place is different.
Mm,
They need to take care of the locals and invest in the locals. That's where the money is. That's where the talent is. Businesses, you
agree.
got to give people money. Entrepreneurs, you make these kids entrepreneurs. You make sure you infuse the farms with the schools. You need more money for farms, not less farms.
Yeah.
In two farms, you guys are going to be Long Island, 6 hours away.
Defund
Two
the
farms from
police.
now.
I
Yeah.
know a lot of these things, again, we've watched them backfire and we've seen them happen. They're going the opposite direction, but they seem to be doing really good. Their bank
They're
accounts, they
doing
get
well,
new
but they could do
jets, they
so
get
much better.
the rest of us are doing bad. It's them that are, again, the only ones succeeding. And again, I have no heart now when it
No, but
comes to
no, you
these
do.
people. Well,
You
I
do
have
have
a
a heart
huge
because
heart
you're
with the
out here.
people, but for the guilty, the corrupt, these people, and a lot of them claim to be, good guys. When we think they're good guys, they'll tell you one thing, but their actions are something different. And the fruit of their labor, right? We're watching those come. And the courts are key in all of this, and the police department and law enforcement, this closed loop system that they have where they control the checks and the balances, and we have to rely on them investigating, charging, and prosecuting themselves. It just doesn't seem to be working out. They own the
Well,
media.
and it's 100%. But I also think that a lot of it for Vermont is the fear of the number on those lawsuits that could come from anyone at any time. People start lawsuits sometimes when they don't even need them. And
Yeah.
I think a lot of Vermont's problem may be, and I'm just a person who has an opinion. I don't know, I'm not an expert. I don't know anything, but I believe that it seems like they're concerned. It's not that they don't care about those things a lot of the time, but they're concerned about the number on these huge lawsuits. It would knock everyone out in the whole state, and they wouldn't survive it. They wouldn't be able to get back on their feet. So a lot of times, many times, what you're saying 100% happens. But then there's also a sector of people that believe maybe something that somebody else says that's not true, where they think they're doing the right thing, or they may, and then they may make a mistake, and then maybe they get scared that they're going to get sued. So it seems like they might double down because of that fear. And then all of a sudden the harassment comes out, and this thing called, that I call it the Green Mountain Claw, because it's not really a depiction of who the Vermonters are. They're very progressive in a good way, not in a new sort of progressive way,
I
where they're
agree.
screaming on the.
The best part of Vermont is Vermonters, and I've always said that. I don't think you're irredeemably racist, like Phil Scott called every Vermonter. I think we're incredible people. In fact, we're the opposite. I've been on the record. I think Vermont's the least racist state, but that's why, again, I want to talk about this. Some Vermonters will tell you, you got to be like seventh generation or you're not a Vermonter. Now, I don't believe that. I think as soon as you cross the line, it's an attitude. We call it Vermont strong. You've heard that term. You've been here long enough.
Yes.
That means we're all in it together. That's what
Right,
it
a hundred
means.
percent. But I think that, like, people here in your state, even the people who are in power here, if they're local Vermonters, they believe that this is the way to get to the money. They just think they have to go further, but they're not looking at themselves. That's why I call it like the ruby slippers.
Yeah,
The ruby slippers are they're right on their own feet. The Vermonters just need money. That's all they need
right.
in investments. They need
We need to
seeds.
keep some of our money. And again, I know because I did the
Yeah,
audit.
yeah.
We didn't elect these people. We didn't elect them. I did the audit. Nobody can convince me otherwise. I'll show you the proof. I did show you the proof. It got me my brake lines cut.
See,
Right? Got
yeah,
false
that's
arrested and
scary.
force injected. And well, it is scary. And that's where, again, I want to talk about, that I don't know how I'm still here. And
I
one,
think, yeah,
you
you're
asked
very,
me a
you
question. I want to ask, because you asked me the question before we came on, Kevin, is this going to get me killed? Is this going to help me or hurt me or how? And I gave you an honest answer, right? I don't know. I don't know. I think by standing up, it comes with risk, but some things are worth risking, don't you think?
100%. And I felt that way. Can I tell you, you were speaking about public safety
Yeah.
because public safety is different in different areas. One person can ruin everything, make you give you a bad name. And this town, actually, that I live in, has the best police department you can have. So I was advocating for them and raving and ranting about them all over the place. And everybody thought that that meant, I think people were offended by that too, because it was like, oh, what am I against
Yeah.
the other people? No, I'm not.
You
In
can't win.
fact, what you just said is, I am a person who many people see as a person of color because I have darker skin, but I look more because I'm Italian. I look like I could be Arab or something like that. So I get checked like 3 times on a plane.
Uh-huh.
Everybody, but I have this look like I'm up to no good all the
Me
time.
too, because I'm a single-age white guy traveling alone, usually military, right?
Right. Do
Yeah,
you really get looked at like that? I didn't know that.
constantly, especially overseas travel. I'm always that random guy. But again,
You're
I'm
kidding. I
military
never knew
age.
that it happens to like white people, like really
It
pale.
does, well, and again, I don't blame people because I'm a military age male traveling alone. That's usually what they do, right? And it's not a problem. I don't mind. I'm actually happy. They pull me over and they're checking that stuff. That makes me feel secure too. And I go, hey, yeah, I'm going here and here's my stuff. And they go, great, Mr. Hoyt, have a great day. And I go on my way.
It's
I'm
just weird
not,
that they think military age white men are scary.
well, I think military age, anybody traveling by yourself,
Why?
because that's how terrorists travel.
Okay. Yeah.
That's what they do. Again, they're stereotyping, right? Which is
Yeah.
supposed to
Yeah.
be illegal, but I guess, for profiling to a certain degree.
No, me
Right.
too. I'm not, again, I'm not this person that's saying, "Oh, let everybody free. Oh, be nice to his feelings. If he raped a child, he should get, you know what? That's death
Right.
because the child, that's death to the child for the rest of their life. They're going
Well,
to be in a nightmare
these
from
are
that.
the things we're discovering about, again, our own Congress, our own government, our own law enforcement, all the places that were supposed to help us, from donating blood and Red Cross to child advocacy and adoption centers. Those seem to be the worst offenders now. That truth is becoming a hard reality. CPS. CPS is supposed to help children.
And
That's
you know what? They say that everywhere, even in the richest neighborhoods. I come from a neighborhood where I was like the most poor person there. Everybody else had everything. So, and you'd be surprised. It happens in the most in New York, in these rich areas, in Westchester. These things happen, in the court,
it's
just like
almost
abuse
worse.
victims.
If you
Yeah.
got $1 million, it's going to cost you $1 million to get your kid back, and they'll
Oh,
make sure.
at the least, and and you'll be gutted. You won't be the same. You'll be drooling and seeing purple elephants
I
because you've
know.
suffered so much. And your
I know.
child, because they don't have enough money anywhere across the country, there
I
is
know.
no system and any way of making enough money to cover and protect the children the way it is now. They actually have to use less money and just do the right things, and the kids will turn out better, and then they can take it back into the system. But I think they try to get a lot of money from that. And maybe that's where there's room for the bad guys to get in there
Well,
and do all that stuff, whoever they
this
are.
this is where, again, people like you are so important too. I'm going to tell everybody watching this program, again, I'm still running for governor, and I don't want to govern
I
anybody,
think that's great that
but
you're
we
so
don't.
brave. You just do all this.
I'm going to destroy DCF, Kevin Hoyt. Their substantiation system, it's no longer in effect because of Chevron, and these people are criminals. And I know there's a lot of good people that work at DCF that
Yeah,
are
they got some
involved. And if
new
you,
great people. They're working on a lot of things to try and make it more fair and stuff.
there's some good people. How many kids die because of DCF? How
The
many kids
worst. I
die?
I know a lot of the Manhattan victims.
Did you know, again, per capita, Vermont ties right now at number 4 in the missing peoples department.
Oh my God.
There's 800,000 missing children every
Oh
single year
Jesus.
just in
Can
the
I tell you something
United
though? That's
States.
really the truth. That is the truth.
These are
Almost
numbers,
everywhere now.
2.1 million worldwide, just in the United States, every single year, 800,000 people, and
These poor
nobody
children.
cares.
Yeah.
We're number 4, Vermont. Did you know that? Do you know
Yeah. No, I didn't know that. I didn't know
Bill
that.
Clinton used to fly into the Hewlett farm in Paulet, Vermont, right? That's where we got the
Oh, I
cops
heard
that
about that. Yeah,
aren't
one time.
cops and
Yeah.
the 2-time convicted police chiefs, and again, connected through prosecutors trafficking ring one, and I mean, it's
I'm sure they were all over. They had rings everywhere. These people, whoever's involved
yeah.
in that's got that everywhere.
And I think what I'm discovering now is people can't understand the scale of that, and that's where it gets to you a little bit as far as the gang stalking. This isn't just our elected officials and authorities. These are people you go to church with.
But that's what it is. And what you were saying, I said that that's exactly what it is, not just with that. And then that ripples onto my situation. I also experienced where I felt like I was being not targeted, but I felt like I was in a little being
Watched.
targeted when I first came based on the fact that I was a single mother. I didn't have a lot of money, which would include almost all these families because everybody's underpaid and overworked. So
Yeah.
everybody's losing their kids because, if you're looking at it like that, and then they were also taking children from the foster kids that grew up because they were saying like in the system they're doing these like data things where there's no human being involved and they'll just do the data. Well, statistics say this woman, being that she was a foster child, will be maybe an abuser, so they'll take the child away based on that, and that's not right because the kid
No.
was forced into the
The
system in the
gap
beginning.
right now, DCF is begging the courts to dismiss a case where they follow mothers, unfit
Oh,
mothers,
I know the
determine
behavioral
they
the
take them
behavioral risk
away.
assessment. I think that was just happening to me.
This
That was just
this
happening to me along with many other monitoring and harassing things like that.
it's
It
incredible.
was yeah.
And again, just to date this is May 7th, 2025. And again, you heard it here first. Kevin Hoyt's about to be charged again,
Oh,
right? Again, we'll put that out there. It's not in the news yet. I
and
haven't
what was it
officially
again,
been cited.
Kevin?
My crime?
Yeah.
I went to the hospital to see a friend's baby.
Really? Well,
Just
why
had
did
a
they
baby.
say that that was wrong?
Well, it stems back from a no trespassing order from
Yeah.
4.5 years ago. I got thrown out of the hospital emergency room for not wearing a mask, denied
Oh
treatment,
my God.
and I was given a no trespass order for my emergency room because that'd be legal.
How long ago
But
was that?
that was 4.5 years ago.
You want
And
to hear
then
something? Yeah, go ahead.
well, again, while the important part again, I just went and saw a friend's baby, and again, they have pictures of me, and that's on their Give Send Go now because
Yeah.
this is Nick and Jenna, and they're stealing their children, the same exact people that I've been calling out for years and years.
What did they
And
say? Well, why were they doing that to them?
well, they stole. They have their special needs
Yeah,
parents,
oh, I understand. Yeah, so they're going to pick on that.
and
That's what
again,
it's like on all the vulnerable populations, you feel like
it,
on the
it
people
is.
that might have special needs. And the guy's probably one of the best fathers you could find.
These guys are good. And they had a son he had a cortisol deficiency. So two special needs parents with a special need kid. And they took care of the kid. Again, it was special needs, but they did a
So
good
what did
job.
they say the reason
They
was?
had the moms. Well, the first one, because he was special needs baby, they took him away. And then because DCF took away their first kids per statute, that gives them a right to be involved with their second
This
child.
is like this is enough reason to like run out of here. You know what I'm saying?
He
It's
they were
terrifying.
talking about leaving Vermont state because they were afraid that the state was going to take their child, and that's exactly what happened.
You know
They
what? You know
this
what's
baby,
interesting?
their new
What hospital
daughter.
was that?
This is Bennington. This is Putnam Hospital, and
This is
again,
happening to me right now. Because my ex's mistress, or his married mistress, who made up these terrible lies about me, and it spread it all over the entire state. Everybody's heard these stories and everybody was involved. They got everybody angry at me. People were assaulting me, all this crazy stuff, and it was
yeah,
lies.
it's
She stole from my family. She's a rich girl
they
that was just
stacked
here
debt.
trying to get her house in her name during the divorce. I'm not going to mention her name or anything like that. Now maybe he told her stories and that's why she thought I was bad. Who knows? But she still did very illegal things, and she stole from me and my family. They left us without two cars, and somehow he got away with it. It was like the county just let him get it.
Yeah.
And I've been without a way to make a living and everything. I have three kids. My daughter ran away. She got so scared. And I think that falls onto the other thing, which is not just parents, but also domestic abuse victims. And I mean that on both sides. Of course, men can be abuse victims too.
Mhm.
My brother has been, people go through parental alienation, etc. People make stories up about abuse about men, and it's not always men. Women can be the worst, and this woman is the worst. But it was behind my boyfriend, so everybody knew my boyfriend. They thought he was telling the truth, and she was telling him what to say, and it spread. And everyone in the state that I have been cheerleading about for the last 8 years, 8 to 10 years, started to hate me and think that I was just here to take something or to squat in the
You
guy's
want me to
house.
tell you why they hate you? because
Why?
I think they know who we are when we're born, and I think they can see the light in the tunnel. I think they know that you're a high vibration. You've been a rabble rouser, and you stood up for other people probably your whole life and in many lives before this one, and they know you were. I think you were chosen for this,
But
Jess.
I didn't want to hurt anyone, and I think that
You
maybe
still don't
some of the
want to.
Vermonters were offended by
Yeah.
my things.
And I can still hear that compassion again when you tell your story.
Yeah,
But we're being taken advantage of. You don't
yeah.
have to be a Vermonter. It doesn't matter what state you're watching from. If you're watching this, you were lied to. You've been taken advantage of. You've been abused. I don't care who your God
No,
is, your lover, your skin color, or your hair color, or how many, piercings and tattoos. I've been saying this over and over in the last 4 or 5
no,
podcasts.
you have, Kevin.
We,
I've
we
heard that
gotta,
before.
we gotta stop this divide, man. It's
Yeah,
it's us against them. It's
yeah.
not a color war. It's not about the LGBTQ community. There's a group that's been taken advantage of and used,
Oh my God.
right? I
Mm.
care about your community as a part of my community. You guys don't have to agree with me. You don't have to like me. Realize that when they take away my rights, they're taking away your rights too. And if they do it to Jess, they can do it to you. They did
And
it to
it's
Daniel
starting to
Vanier.
spread. It's starting to spread. The gang, first of all, the gang stalking thing, is the reason why I mentioned the thing with my ex-boyfriend is because you mentioned that hospital. It's one of the best hospitals they have. But for some reason, ever since I found out that the girl that's dating him is working there, I only found out because I kept trying to make appointments at Brattleboro Hospital. And
Yeah.
for some reason, inside my doctor's office, it kept changing to Bennington. And I was getting all these calls saying, come down to Bennington Hospital for these tests. And I didn't know why I kept switching there. I didn't have a car right now. So I would rather go to Brattleboro because it's easier for me on the move, or I get too
It's
confused with Bennington. So, and I
funny.
kept wondering why that was happening. And I was about to go there and I did research. I found out the girl who made up a story to the police and made everybody turn against me in the whole town. She actually made people think that I was so scary that it triggered like a disaster response. In the middle of a disaster response, these people were already working their asses off on with an award they got from FEMA because they deserved it.
Yeah.
And they had to dip into the disaster response they already got money for, the
Stop
award.
you.
Yeah, and to stop and start getting people in there from the Department of Health. They said that I was dangerously insane, my ex-boyfriend and this girl. And I guess she put me into some system and told the governor, and they were all these mean girls like saying, oh yeah, get her. Oh, she's such a scary person. We don't want to walk around here. So the town thought that I
All
was a
plants.
problem,
No, you're telling my story.
you know. And then they believe it. And they
Believe
just
me, I know. I've
so
got,
they thought they had a good reason. First of all, when somebody tells you there's a threat there, as a police officer, as a town official, you've got to kick into gear and start acting.
but isn't it
But
amazing?
somebody else that's back there and doing all the official stuff has to look into what's underneath there. Is that definitely true
We had
before you go
US,
further?
we had US Marshals following around J6 grandmothers.
It's
That's what
happening to me.
Marshall.
I have people following me
I,
and acting like I'm in some diversion.
well,
I'm the
that's right.
abuse victim.
We can't, I mean, I've identified child trafficking, mass murder, embezzlement, money
Oh
laundering,
my
bank
God,
fraud,
scary. That's
tax
scary
fraud.
stuff.
I've shown election fraud. I've shown you all the evidence, high treason, right? I mean, sedition, some major shit. I can't pick up a dead deer skull or go see my friend's new baby at the hospital.
I
We can
can't
get
believe you
caught.
walked in there and they arrested you.
No, no, this was 3 weeks ago. But then I did a video about the Bennington Police Department 2 days ago, and then I was cited.
Oh
Well, I
God.
haven't
Wait,
been cited yet,
let
but
me ask you a question. You went to because the other night my friend got sick and she had to go to the Bennington Hospital.
yeah.
And I had to, but I was afraid to go in because the girl works there, the mistress, and she was causing a disaster and then coming in with
All right,
those people and
here's a big piece. Again, you always have to follow the money for everybody trying to put this together.
she has
And
money.
the people don't have any money anymore. So where did they go? And in Bennington, who has money? Who has money? Think. Hospital has money. The
Of
college
course.
has money.
Yeah.
You got a college town? Why is your college in charge of regional development? Why are they
Uh,
getting deals? We just paid again the Putnam block. That's the Bennington Hospital. right? But again, they're in with the town and it's all the same entity. They gave themselves, the town of Bennington has a personal loan program. So if you run a pizza shop and something happens, you need a new oven, you can go and get, it's up to, I think, $5,000 and it's low
Doesn't everyone have that thing in their
house.
town or no?
Well, I don't know. A lot of people didn't even know about that. It depends on who you
Oh,
are again, right? But
oh
they'll give it
wow.
to you. Again, it was supposed to be like a 3 year maximum, and I think it was $5,000 limit. But for the Putnam block, the town of Bennington used their own loan program to give their investors $300,000 loan, cash up
Wow.
front. They
Nice.
paid themselves in cash. They don't even
Oh
have
well, yeah, see that's
paying back
that.
interest for 8 years. They broke all the rules to do that. And we paid 50, it's a $56 million project.
Oh my God, that's so scary to go near that. I wouldn't even go near that stuff. I would
I
be
was
afraid.
construction. I mean,
I'd be afraid to mess it
a
up.
couple $1 million. Right across the street, we've got a pocket park over $100,000. For 5 grand in the Boy Scouts, I would have gave you a hell of a pocket park. There's no way at $5,000. Caddy corner, we got the splash park. Took them what 2, 3 years. Again, 500,000, $750,000. Got $1 million salt shed. You guys wonder why you can't pay your electric bill? Why your property tax just quadrupled? This
Yeah.
is this is why.
Well,
We
I
got
think also a lot of it may be going to lawsuits, for all these like
all the
situations.
legal fees. You guys have no idea. They just spent over $1 million in the last couple of years trying to stop me. And it didn't work. I paid my $50 fine at CRJ.
There was lawyers
Got a
about me
matching
too.
EIN.
They're trying. People are trying to make me somewhere in the county. They're trying to make me look like a criminal. It almost looks like they want to charge me with a criminal charge.
They do. They
Had
want to
let him do
silence
all
you.
that to me and let me and they he stole all of our things, me and my children.
This is
He
why I
lied
was,
about us, and he shot at me and everything, and they were saying I made it up.
and this is where I got to why this is happening to you because you are a dangerous woman. You are powerful and they are threatened
What do you?
deeply
Well,
by
I
you because of your truth, because you're not going to take their shit. You see it and you do something, you say something.
I
So it's
never wanted to
important.
put. I never wanted to even make them uncomfortable. I would have
You
done
think I
that.
wanted to do this? I wish
No, of
somebody else
course,
found the shit and stood up.
of
I've been
course, you have.
waiting. Who
Yeah,
wants to be a politician? Honestly, you're out of your freaking mind. I
no,
can't imagine
totally.
anybody wanting to get into this. It's not a get rich career path like Bernie Sanders. It's supposed to be a duty. You get in, you do your part, and you get out
No,
for the
you were
people.
inspired there, like God led you there, just like me, because I was never interested in that. But when I came here, I started to
Imagine.
care about the local people. So I started to talk about that because, I felt like they needed me, and
Yeah, they
I
do.
never thought anyone would get mad at me though, because
That's
I
why
thought that
God
all the
sent you.
locals wanted the same thing.
And this is the here's ascension. People want to know how to get it. Look, life sucks. Most
Yeah,
of that. Now, again, I'm going to
you say
take you
that
back
again.
to that the first time a baby crosses
Yeah,
the room and gives you a hug unsolicited, or your first kiss.
it's the best.
I can give you a million. This is still worth it, right? There's a
Mm,
million things, but life is hard. And the trick to it is being able to accept the bad with the good. Like this is happening for a reason. Why? And hopefully we can correct ourselves. I mean, I was a slow learner. It took me, I touched the stove 5, 6 times before I realized don't touch the glowing orange metal. It's hot, right?
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
think I call it Campus Earth, God School,
right.
and they're going to send these obstacles at us, and it's our job, to negotiate and again all these temptations that we have in life, and we're all susceptible. We're all sinners. I'm a flawed man. I'm so far from.
All of us, yeah,
But I'm trying.
of
I'm
course.
trying. Nobody's going to say we didn't try.
You're never at the end. You have to try all the way up until you're in the hole. It's like there. You got
To
it.
some degree, is that repentance? That's what we're talking about. Stop
We're
your
still
shit.
learning. Yeah.
Well, whoever you are, you guys, if you want to help out, the very first thing you have to do is clean up your own house, man. Look in the mirror. Try a little bit harder. And then
Yeah.
after you get your own house, you can move to your town, your state, your city,
Yeah.
or whatever. Just do something.
Yeah.
Instead.
Well, I can't say that I would have to clean up my own house in a lot of ways. I'm so nervous all the time and I'm not organized and this and that, but I'm always a work in progress, like you were saying about yourself.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you though, because I'm concerned about that. Many times I've gone to that location, and the other night when I had gone to that hospital, it was the second time I took my friend there, and I was just in the lot. But I started being gang stalked in the lot. And even one of the cars said, "Oh my God, this girl is now influencing everyone from inside the hospital." And I
Yeah.
heard that she was like kind of like, gloating about how she was going to do all these things to me and how they were going to get me in there and put me into a mental hospital and they
Dude,
were going to lock me
I'm
away with the
terrified of
governor.
going to the hospital. I'm afraid. Again, you
I
can
was
talk
afraid
about
too. And I say,
bio implants, or they can vaccinate you. They can do all sorts of, you don't know
yeah,
what
and
you're
not
gonna get.
because of the hospital, but because, yeah, got some guy in there that has it out for you. He, like this girl, and they can make people think certain things. She could have put me into the registry. Maybe that's what triggered the disaster response. But she caused a big problem, and it led to everyone in the state. I'm sure you've heard about it, having to spend millions of their own dollars. And she hasn't paid a dime. And now it looks like somebody wants to make it look like it was my fault. And
Yeah,
I'm still the victim who hasn't gotten her two cars back or had anybody clear my name.
right. Well, and this is the good part about this
But do you
platform.
think they do that where you could
No,
go in
no one
there?
ever gets to tell their story. No one would ever heard this story.
So how did you get in there? Like, how did you get stuck in there? They brought you in and then you thought you were going to something else? Or is that what happened to your friend?
What are we talking about as far
Like
as
when he
the,
went into the Bennington hospital for something else and then they let him into a mental hospital or something?
well, again, we got those stories too. We got a guy named John Flynn down in Connecticut, that's Skull and Bones.
Oh,
This
that
guy,
guy. Oh my God. I feel
he's
terrible for that guy.
top tier, ran for president. He's a heavy hitting lawyer. He caught them. He had them in court going after him. They called him a conspiracy theorist and locked him up in a mental institution.
Oh my
That's what they
God.
got. How many have you heard that? Yeah, I hear that all the time. Kevin, you're
I
mentally
saw that.
ill.
Oh yeah, no, they give me that all the time. All of a sudden, everybody started gaslighting me just because of this. And
Yeah.
I wasn't trying to hurt my ex. I didn't report him. He made up a story about me to get me out of the house for the side chick to be more private with him. And the husband wouldn't find out because she was looking for his house.
It's
Um,
it's
yeah,
amazing to me how, again, the people too. And again, this is a call out to all Vermonters because it's funny.
believing them.
Well, I show up in Fairhaven, Vermont and say, "Hey, you got a criminal police officer. Here's the evidence." The people are mad at me for, again, I don't live in the town. I'm coming to their town. I'm not part of the community. Of warning them that they have a criminal police officer that's about to cost them like a lot of money. Their town.
Wow.
That's going to be your taxpayers. But then the public seems to turn on me for being the messenger. I didn't commit the crimes. I'm just telling you about them. The same with all these other things. And then the problem is if you find these things and you start doing public, then they make up stuff. They literally have to, they do whatever they have to silence you. And that's the scary part. I don't think they'll kill me anymore. I mean,
Well, maybe well, did you ever
eyes
think they
on.
would?
They cut my brake lines back
Oh
in
my gosh.
2022. Right. And I spent Independence Day, July 4th of 2024. What a great day to spend in jail. Falsely arrested, force injected. They they
Wow.
they gave me a needle.
Oh my
Right.
God.
Again, it totally messed with me for like 3 days. Now they can't even tell me at the Rutland Corrections. They can't tell me if the woman that injected me was even a nurse. They don't
Oh,
give me her name. They can't tell me what they put in my body. I know it wasn't a TB test, which
oh
is what they
wow.
told me. Had a vein that turned black. Again, medical professionals thought my veins collapsed. They didn't know if it was a fentanyl thing or it was
Oh wow.
what?
A lot of this stuff is just, it's very scary to me. So now I was concerned. I had a weird feeling of fear. It was an instinct.
Mhm.
Because my appointments were changing there. So I knew she was pulling something from the inside because she has their trust now. She's from New York and
I
she
I think
decides
it's bigger. I think again it's this criminal conspiracy, and that's what people the SVC Southern Vermont College too. They're closed now. That's where our cops used to buy their law degrees. But Southern Vermont Medical Center, right down here, they're part of this criminal, you know, conspiracy. This is
really, I
part of a
can't believe that.
crime syndicate. This is a big thing. And a good example, again, and the media is part of it too. They just sold one of the big buildings out back. And again, I'm throwing numbers, so don't get, everybody get their panties in a bunch if I got the numbers wrong. But I believe they sold this addition for $10 million, right? Again, they
Oh
sold
wow.
part of the hospital. But then when they reported it in the local banner, Jim Therian, he's become the news story now. They only reported it as 4 million. And then when it got to the town and the paperwork, and well, they only reported 4 million too. So what happened to the 6 million? I know what happened to the 6 million. You guys know what happened to the 6 million. And if I say that, again, I can't go to the hospital to see my buddy's new baby.
Oh wow. I see. I don't. You know
Easier
all
to,
about the details of everything. I don't know.
we do. We caught him, but who are you going to tell? Do I call Chad Schmidt, the
Yeah.
sheriff?
No, that's
It's a joke.
yeah. Well, I don't, I in that regard, like in the beginning, I was very scared when I came to Vermont because I heard all these stories. Like you said, there really isn't a lot of racism that you find in Vermont. I'm not saying it's not here and it doesn't
Right.
happen to people. I do feel it here and there because I
Mhm.
have that olive skin, but and people follow me around in stores and stuff. But there maybe there's something where it's not really racism. It's something about me that looks like who, I'm up to no good or I want to
You're a
try.
disruptor. Well, you're not letting that happen. And that's what I said, I've always been a problem child too. I question my teachers. I always, constant,
Yeah.
like, no, I don't agree with what you're saying. And I ask, what did you learn in school? Everybody, what did you learn? You learn,
Yeah.
sit down and shut up, rinse and repeat. If you don't comply, you're going to get punished. That's what you learn in school.
But I
Honestly.
think all of us can respect that, and sometimes it's okay to do that.
Well,
But
you need
it's different if they're
foundation.
hurting you, and you have to say, "Don't hurt me." You're
Well, and
not being a
what are
rebel,
they teaching us? And right, there's a whole, again, those indoctrination centers and what we're finding out about the education system, just like the tax system or the medical
Yeah,
system or any kind of
yeah,
system. That's what we're watching crash. That's why I tell people, let it go, man. It's scary because you don't know what's coming. The
yeah.
unknown scares us, but I like to predict the future by making it, and we're doing that. But it starts right now. What can we do? We have all this corruption going down. And I think really all we can do is expose it and then bring your grievance to them. And that's what I'm encouraging everyone to do. So you come on a show like this. Thank you, Jess, for coming
Thank you, Kevin.
opening up your heart. And you didn't have to, but
But Kevin, can I say, can I say something before we get
yeah,
off?
yeah.
If you were gonna go,
No, I'm not.
um,
We got a little time yet. We're still
okay.
going. So go ahead.
I just want to make sure I say this though, because every situation is different in every town, and stuff. I think I can say for sure. I can't say who's who in any other town, but I know the people involved in this one thing, and I just feel badly that the people in public safety that I love so much and that I admire that have been, they're the good guys, that they believed this about me and or believed that I somehow would want to, say that they've done something wrong or anything like that. I don't think that I wouldn't blame anybody here because I think that everybody believed it and they had to do what they had to do. But somebody was supposed to look into it and not go this far up in the government. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I don't want anybody to think that, like, for these people, I still want to work on getting them all their money back because their money was depleted, that they should have had the whole thing back now. They
Yeah.
deserve it. They work very hard. And I don't want to be the reason they lose money. And in the town, too, they're down money on this farce that this girl created in the
Yeah.
middle of a disaster response that they were already doing.
Yeah, I'm not going to Fairhaven, Vermont to hurt the people of Fairhaven. I'm trying
Yeah.
to warn them. I'm trying to help them, but I need their help at the same time, right? Nobody, like you said, everybody's afraid to stand up. Well, I'm not afraid. Is anybody with me? Where are my countrymen?
I'm with
And
you when it comes to standing up for the right thing. I'm always there. I don't want to
yeah,
hurt anybody. I'm just
that's
like
why you're
you.
targeted. That's why you're dangerous. That's why God sent you. That's what I'm saying. So we accept the bad with the good, and the reason you have to go through all this crap, it's what it is. I've had my share too. It's we're sharpening our blade. He's preparing us. It's so we can bear witness and now testify. It's time to testify. I've got official complaint forms. If you live in Bennington, Vermont, and you want to complain against our blood clot of justice, that's Erica
Well,
Marthridge, the
well,
state's attorney,
I saw
or
her
the
in a,
police.
yeah, I saw
Yeah,
Erica Marthage in a
I'll help
meeting,
you.
and I saw her. I was observing her, and I wasn't really sure. Like I had not really known her before, but what it almost looks like in a confidential way, maybe they're going to try to hurt me again before I move out of here with my kids, and say that it's my fault that the girl did this or the impacts on the area. And
Yeah,
they want to charge me with something. I'm so afraid of these people. I'm already in bad health. I have terrible anxiety. I'm a post traumatic
lawful.
stress. I have CPTSD. I'm disabled. And they've brought in all the disability places and all these places to make them think I've lied or hurt somebody in
I
the
know.
system or hurt a public safety person when I've never done it. And everybody in the legislature is gunning for this. And it seems like they're even laws have changed to make it easier for them to do these things to me. I don't know if it's in that particular part is in my mind. I hope it's not.
Mhm.
I hope it is in my mind and it's not what I think it is. But if it is, it would become a larger thing because I have sisters who have homes up here. I have friends who are in the media. I've been doing a lot of marketing for this place.
Yeah.
And I don't know what happened. I want to work it out. I don't want a big lawsuit. I want to be seen as one of the family. Like you said, I feel like an observer. I
Mhm.
was never let into the family because I look like I want to try something, but I've never taken anything from anybody. That was all made up.
Yeah. Well, and again, what you've done is taken the initiative to do the right thing, and that's the Vermonter. Like I said, you're more Vermonter than a lot of Vermonters I know. I don't
I
recognize
really
this state.
appreciate that because that means a lot to me. I love one of my best friends here, Kim Dix, is the sweetest person in the world. There's something so special about Vermont women, and it is different. It is different when you've been here for a while or when you're born here. There
Mhm.
is a difference, and I think there's a loyalty, Kevin, on another note that you were talking about when you
Yeah.
said people come in here. There is something to be said for loyalty. Most people come here looking for themselves, looking out for themselves, and maybe they would get into a position of power and then not remember the Vermonters who they need for their own success, but they don't know.
Yes. This
You
is,
know?
I love this. That's what I want everybody, Vermonters, remember who you are. It's as
Yes.
simple as this, you're Vermonters. And, I spent, I don't know, the first 2 or 3 years trying to organize. I wanted to have people in every county and trying to do this. We're so splintered and divided. When you're looking for, corruption, there's no lack of content in Vermont, and we all got our own things. We're going a million. So for years and years, I spun my wheels trying to organize and stuff. Now, the women of Vermont, hats off. Thank you, women, all the moms out there.
Right?
They pissed off Mama Bear, and you guys in like 2 weeks did what I couldn't do in 2 years. That's pretty impressive. And from experience, again, usually where the women go, the men tend to follow. So
Exactly.
hopefully that happens and a few more men stand up for the women. That was the school stuff. But I think we're at that point. I hope other people start to stand up and stop the division and realize the power that you have.
Yes,
And
and check everything twice when you hear something, because sometimes the local people whose husbands or whose men then follow are listening to groups of people who have been here for a long time but are not from here. And
check
they
this
may
one.
tell you somebody that's here is bad because maybe they're looking out for themselves. Maybe that person isn't looking out for themselves. And
Yeah.
then a rumor, like my male friends have told me who are much older, they said they've been here, their whole lives. They said they've seen one rumor made by a bad egg of a girl ruin the lives of someone they really like and then drive them out of here.
Well,
And that, I think
part,
that's happening to
I
me.
think part of this again, everything's how you hold it, right? Is
Yeah.
my cup half full or half empty? My cup runneth over. Some of it's air. That's all.
Yeah.
But again, I think how we do this is again, it's as simple as doing the right thing and the service of others comes in there somewhere. Don't wait till it happens to you. I mean, this is for Vermonters. I think that's real easy. And back to that Vermont Strong and the organization piece, where you were here for Hurricane Irene, right?
Yeah, well,
This
Hurricane
was after.
Irene is like this is I became because of this girl. I became a disaster where the president had to approve of me. Like
Wow.
I'm a dangerously
That was
risky.
the disaster that you were talking about.
Yeah, I'm the
Well, and
disaster.
for people who don't know, Hurricane Irene, basically all of our roads follow our rivers. We had a tremendous flood years ago and it wiped out all of our roads. So we had towns that were shut off and it was unbelievable. I've never seen anything like it in my life. But
And what
that's
about this
where,
stuff? The flooding recently.
well, I think that's a little more controlled and I think I got a different opinion with that. But what impressed me with Irene is that Vermont strong. You woke up and your neighbor's house was caught under the bridge and their cars were gone and there was no roads and there was like, and without even asking, people, you grabbed your Kubota and you were in the river with the state and you were feeding your neighbors. And we had people, just like we saw in the Appalachians, people from all over the country came in and they were using horses and bringing in bottled
Yeah,
water.
that's the best when you
The
see that.
pe-
That's like during 9/11.
that's humanity. And it
Yeah,
wasn't the government. It's still not the government. That's people helping people. And
of course.
they called us Minutemen. I get to brag a little bit. The first free Hoyt, my 5 times grandfather, Harry Hoyt, was the first free Hoyt. Him and his father, David, fought against England
That's
for
amazing.
our freedom, not just Vermont. Right. I mean, my family's called these mountain homes since the early 1600s. a long time before they called it Vermont or the United
That's
States.
got to be a huge source of pride for you. That's like such a great thing to know your
It-
history like that.
It's the same. I mean, from, my grandmother Rose was in 18 Norman Rockwell prints that made it to print. The only time we've ever had to use our Second Amendment to abolish a tyrannical government and involuntary servitude and slavery, the Hoyts in Vermont, one of my favorite war quotes, put the Vermonters up front and hold the line. And we
Yeah.
did. And we're going again, you guys. That's what
Nobody's
I'm
tougher
saying.
than the Vermonters. I mean,
Well, it's fight or flight is what it comes down to. And I'll
yeah.
tell, first of all, first, Vermonters don't make good runners historically. We're not good at the flight part. But you can't get away from this. You think you can go to a different state or a different country? Different countries out, guys. You think it's rough over here, it's rougher in other countries. And you can't go to a different state. I don't care. You can go to Texas, you can go to Florida, you can pay. They're having their same old positions. And you might set up shop and you might be okay for 6 months, a year until they find you down there. And you're
But
gonna
you
have the
know,
same taxes, the same issues.
But you
Go
know
ahead.
what, Kevin, and you're right, because you were saying, like, instead of being divided, because we have to find some way in all these places, even when there's fear of liability and this and that, when people don't want to be uncovered for making a mistake or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Everybody should work together on a mutual solution that doesn't harm anybody in that way. When something like this comes up, they should sit down and come up with something, because bullying people, gang stalking, and liability is too much money. It's not working anyway. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? And you're hurting people. You're creating a system of fear. Even if people join you, it's because they're afraid, but they lose the trust in the officials who they shouldn't.
Well, and
So the
the
best way
same.
to, yeah, to find some way of working it out. I would say the one thing that I would say Vermont has to work on is conflict resolution, right?
Yeah.
And
It's internal affairs. We need to check and back who's watching the watchers.
yeah, or
What it
everybody
comes
just
down to,
clean slate and start over, where we do it this way and we come to
do
a
over.
mutual, where nobody has to worry about, like, where you can make a decision without having to worry about being leveled with liability, like where you work it out, where the
Huh.
Kern Hatton victims sit down at the table and make a deal with the people there instead of dealing with lawyers for $1 billion. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean. I'm on the
That's what
same
I've been
page.
trying to do
We
myself.
need
I
to
don't
die
want to
and
do
a do-over. And guess what we're watching right now? Again, all systems crashing. People are worried about it. Let it go. That's what
yeah,
I'm going to tell everybody. Let that stuff go because you don't need it. It's unsustainable to start with. The government will
totally.
even tell you that. We can't do it. Can't do it
And
anymore.
you want to hear something crazy though too? When I heard originally about the Kern Hatton kids, and I know it was at different times. Now they have very good people there. They've done a lot of work. It's a lot of history at that school, so I
Mhm.
can understand now why they were defensive of it. The school is too important to the state, and there's all these very important people to the state have been their local Vermonters in history, so they don't want to lose that, and they are afraid of the liability. But let me tell you this: you want to hear the craziest thing?
Mm.
The my hero, who is his name is Carter, and he's the first survivor to come out, and he's never made a deal. They've never come to him to make any type of deal to bring him peace, and all he ever wanted was an acknowledgement. You know, them to hold those people, whoever's still alive, accountable. He's in his 60s, and for them to tear down at least the one building where the children were raped. He didn't want millions of dollars, but they never knew that. So it could have been an easy deal. They didn't have to spend the time fending off what they thought was a lawsuit, you know what I mean? Which may have been understandably concerned about, but they didn't need to. They could have made that deal and they could have used
I'm
him
not
to reap.
taking it anymore. This is the
Yeah,
problem is when we catch, the town, the police chief, the whoever it is, rather than do the right thing and go after their friend, they try to cover it up. They try to
right.
hide the liability. And again,
Well,
that's criminal. Those
in
people
any of these
could have
systems,
committed the
yeah.
crime. That's one of the things. And there's no checks and balance. That's what I said. In my experience, the people have nowhere to go except each other. That's how I know we're going to be okay, by the way. Once we get off our asses and it takes participation. You can't
But
just bitch
I'm not
about
one
it.
of you guys. Like, I'm on the outside always,
Yeah,
and
I'm not buying that either. I'm sorry you feel that way. Hopefully this changes.
I don't think anybody really wanted me to be, but I'm okay. I think that God brought me here for a reason. And I think it's because I was supposed to see what the Vermonters were going through. And being that I saw that and I really was inspired by that, And I fell in love with the Vermonters and I wanted to help them. So all these years I've been doing paid ads and I've also been volunteering I'm on this panel on Vermont Public for the last 6 years talking about how much the locals deserve because I know it would work. Even if I was mad at everybody for believing that girl, I would still want to help the local Vermonters and all the people I love here who are most of the times at their houses. You're not going to see them out with the people who are a problem. Those are from somewhere else and they hang out in town. It's not going to be, the real Vermonters are home with their families,
Right. Well, and again,
so.
I actually do all these videos and stuff for the people that laugh at me and ridicule me. The people that
No,
like me, the Kevin Hoyt fan club, if you will, you guys are going to be okay. That's
who
not,
doesn't like you? I never heard
I'm
anybody say they don't
preaching,
like
oh
you.
my God, I'm at public enemy number. I think if you're part of the state, if you're part of the corruption, you don't really don't like me. And this is the magic of this too. It depends on how we observe it and look at it. I don't have to look for trouble anymore. You called me, Jess. But the bad guys too. Again, Chief William Humphreys, this two-time convicted police chief I'm talking about. This is human trafficking ring number two, Fairhaven, Paulette, Granville. They just expanded over into Rupert,
Well,
Castleton. This
everybody,
is a big
all the.
thing, right? I wouldn't have known nothing. Didn't know anything about these guys. And then Bill Humphreys, the police chief, put up a wanted poster for me and Daniel Banye, a wanted poster. And
Oh
then I
my
got,
gosh, they're being so mean to Daniel Banye. It's
oh,
horrible.
it's incredible story,
It's
Daniel
horrible. I feel
poster.
so bad. And he's a
But
nice guy. He really is nice.
again, he stands up for his neighbors and for
I
what's right.
saw.
And they used him. It's a land grab, a gun grab, I mean, what a terrible, terrible
And when you
situation.
don't when you keep him silent, you might think he's scary, but when he starts talking, you could see how much heart he has.
Yeah, Daniel can be scary. Again, he's a threat to them in their way of corruption.
But
That's
why?
absolutely
What
scary.
is he doing that's so bad? I didn't understand actually.
Well, because he stood up again
Oh,
against the town, against people. He didn't, and then
oh, okay.
they used him. They banned militias.
Oh, it was about okay. Oh, yeah, and they use the word
That's
malicious. Oh,
illegal. We have the right in the Constitution. They banned them using a false narrative against. Again, they controlled the media, favoritism, nepotism. This is what these guys do.
hey, did you hear about that? Actually, there was something else that became an issue. Maybe it would be an issue for you. I don't know. But they were saying something in the government about some law that's being considered where if you confront someone in a meeting, you could be charged criminally.
I don't know. They make up their own rules. That's
But I mean, what does
my opinion.
confronting mean? What defines confronting? Then
I don't know.
that's gonna be a problem. Yeah.
Obama,
Oh,
Obama passed a law. Again, there's about 5,000 militarized drones flying around the United States right now. And Obama passed a law against domestic terrorism that they can use these drones and they can just blow people up and the government doesn't even have to tell people.
oh
So
wow.
how they define terrorism, by the way, is two or more people speaking against the government. So
Really?
those like crazy propane explosions, a house just it gets
Can I?
disintegrated. Yeah. Is
Yeah.
that really what happened? Was it propane or
Oh, you know what? Let me just
that
say
thing?
this. Let me just say this for the record, because there's not two people here that are saying that. You're not even saying anything bad, but also I happen to be a fan of the government here. There's certain people like celebrities to me, like
Yeah.
Ginny Lyons and Jennifer Morris and all this. Like I would do anything. And I always joke that I would love to meet Bernie Sanders so he could make me a real Vermonter. It's kind of a joke, but these people are celebrities to me, like Charity Clark and all them.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh my
but
God.
I think the problem is that inside that system they're not going to always know. And if you speak out for I feel
I
like
think
you
you're
could speak
corrupt.
for everybody.
You're
And
too nice. You're giving them too much grace. I think
yeah,
every one of them, if you're on the board, I don't care if you're Democrat or Republican, I think you're there for a reason. I want to tell you guys how to utilize the suck though. Again, so Bill Humphreys puts up a wanted poster for me and everybody tells me he hates me. Well, I've never met this man. I didn't understand why would he hate me. So then I looked. Now I know. I know why Bill hates me. He was right. He was smart. Oh, and we lost her. Hopefully she'll jump back on. But again, that's the heads up for everyone out there. So likewise now when I'm reporting crimes by the police, the people, the citizens that come out against me, they're speaking out. They're mad because we've discovered crimes by your authorities. I think that's for a reason too. And now we know who to look for. It's important to know where everybody in our community stands, every single one, and why. Maybe they're just misinformed. Maybe again, They can jump to conclusions really fast, but when you look at like the evidence that I've been presented, here's the evidence. It's really hard to argue with it. And the people that are still arguing are the people that are attacking me for, again, giving this public safety message. Your town's corrupt, and here's, they're guilty as far as that crime syndicate and some major capital crimes. We should look into that. Another problem that we have, we'll just wait. Hopefully, Jess will jump back in with us. I hope. I appreciate her time. But again, another huge problem we have here is the state's highest prosecutor, law enforcement official, highest lawyer, the attorney general. Again, it's the highest prosecutor. These guys go after the real bad guys until you accuse a local official or any official for that matter. Per statute, the highest criminal prosecutor changes then, and they have to defend these criminals, these people. Now, there's a problem with that if that's just a generic, they're always going to flip. What should happen, in my opinion at least, I don't care about the statute. What should happen is the attorney general should look at the crime and look at the evidence and then make the determination whether they're going to prosecute, in this case, in a lot of cases they should, or whether they're going to defend them. I think that should be the option of the attorney general. And again, we'll hold them liable for that. Just mentioned Charity Clark. Again, I am a candidate for Vermont state governor. They're trying to kill me, and I want to report capital crimes. If I leave that message on a attorney general's phone, you would think you'd get a call back. I've called over 30 times in the last year. I've left numerous messages. I never get any callbacks. You can't get an appointment. You can't get a meeting. Is that normal? Is that right? Where is Charity Clark? How come she's not even looking or investigating? Where's the media? Those are tests. They failed miserably. And I guess I'll leave off. I don't know if Jen's coming back or not. Jess, about an hour anyway. But the government, no matter what government we're talking about, whether it's local, Vermont state, or your state, or the federal government, they had one job out there. Everybody, I hope you're watching, one job, and that was to protect you. Do you feel protected? Do you feel represented? Because I don't. So again, what do we do about it? We take our grievances to our officials. If you guys need evidence, I'll give you some. If you need help with your grievance, I've got official complaint forms. I'll show you how to do that. I'd like to see lots and lots of lawsuits. I know the town of Bennington just got hit with 4 or 5 this week, and they have more coming. I'd like to see 50. I'd like to see 1,000. Can you imagine if we all stood up at the same time? That's when we win. So I love you guys. Thanks for joining me. I'm going to bail, and I'll have to call Jess back. And again, thank you, Jess, when you see this video, for joining me and bearing your heart and soul. She didn't have to do that. Again, it's kind of intimidating. There's risk involved, and people like her, they're my heroes. You guys are the Grassroots Warrior Network, and this is an open invitation. I've said this before, specifically Erica Marthridge, the town of Bennington. This is my hometown, the Bennington Police Department, the senators, the House of Reps, all these people. If you're from here, if you're from Vermont in general, and you've got dirt and you want to tell your story, then you're invited. This is your platform. This is why we created this network, so you can have a voice. It's one of our biggest weapons. So swing that sword, if you will. Let's tell your story, and let's end this. We're just waiting for you. Thanks, everybody. Click the Rumble button, talk about this stuff, and we'll see you again real soon. Later.